If you have a child who struggles with anxiety, whether it's a PDA presentation, ADHD, autistic, sensory processing, this video is for you. You're going to want to stay till the end. We're going to go through 5 different ways, somatic practices that you can use with your child to co-regulate. So this benefits you. It also benefits your child. Welcome to Glow Within. My name is Katie Connolly. I'm a neuroaffirming clinical counselor, somatic clinical counselor, craniosacral and somatic therapist, and mom of 2. I've worked with children who experience anxiety for over 15 years now. I understand this quite intimately myself as a child who did experience a fair bit of anxiety. And I'm also neurodivergent. So I get this from various perspectives, and I understand how challenging it can be as a parent when you really want to see your child thrive. And I think the anxiety comes from a number of different sources. We can have our own anxiety, and maybe we lean more towards that as an individual for a variety of reasons. But as children, we also tend to absorb a lot of what is around us, and of course in our chaotic world today, we can't help but feel what all the adults are feeling, right? As a sensitive person in particular, we absorb things like a bit of a sponge. And when a child lacks the context, they might not have been taught to tune into their body, so they're kind of disconnected from that, which does often happen with neurodivergent children. There's that hyper or hypo interoception. It becomes very overwhelming. And then, of course, if they don't know how to process it, it stays stuck in the body, which is where the somatic therapy and somatic practices come in. So, as a parent, there's a number of things that we can do to support them. One, being mindful of our energy that we're consuming, the emotional tone in the environment that we're creating for our children, the demands and asks that we have of our children, and our intention, right? So what is it that you want your child to walk away with? What are the core skills and traits maybe that you want to empower your child with? And why? Knowing your why is really important. And so is your parenting style aligned with that? I'm not saying you need to subscribe to any particular parenting style. I really speak to what I call heart-centered parenting, which is tuning into our own wisdom, which we all have. I mean, from the pregnancy to the first year or so, our brain is completely rewiring. Like we're both in both parents, we're primed, like we're actively doing this. So we have it, we're born with this innate skill, but we become disconnected from it for a variety of reasons throughout our life. And you can see the Body Wisdom is Not Woo or Neuroception, explain video to learn a bit more about that. But when we're sharing some of these practices with our children, I always emphasize that we need to practice with them first in calm moments, right? So the idea of someone telling you to be calm is like, it makes me want to like give them a little kick. Not actually, but you know what I'm getting at. Especially if you're activated, right? Like, no thanks. So if you approach your child, particularly a child who's struggling with anxiety, and said, calm down, what do you think the reaction's going to be? More distress. So working with our child in calm moments. And so even as an adult, I suggest, let's start practicing these tools in calm moments. Maybe that's when you wake up in the morning. Maybe that's when you're winding down before bed. For children, they tend to get zoomies around bedtime. There's all that excess energy that they do need to process in order to come back into that parasympathetic, that rest, digest, connect state. And they do this through sensory stimulation, right? So it's important to have that as part of your bedtime routine or rhythm. And once they do come back and are able to connect into their body, they tend to process the day, right? So I always recommend for parents to leave a half hour to have some stimulation time and then that processing so they can verbally process with you. Then when they get into bed, their body's ready and kind of primed to wind down and truly rest because they've been held and had that opportunity to co-regulate with you. Okay, let's get into these 5 practices that you can start. So the first one is connecting our body to the earth. So this can be maybe you're laying down, maybe you're standing or seated, noticing where your body is connected to the earth. So even just being aware of that sense of support or that sensation and connection of our body is really, really helpful, especially for children who've maybe been out of their body or overwhelmed by their environments all day. So coming in and just noticing that connection. The second thing we can do is integrate some breath. So this doesn't need to look like very organized breath work. I have a registered children's yoga school, so I've been teaching this for over 15 years, practicing it myself for much longer than that. One of my favorite breaths that I share with children is placing a stuffy on their belly while they're laying down. And as they inhale, watch it rise. As they exhale, it falls. They will want to play and see how fast they can make it go. Ask them, how does that feel when you breathe fast? Do you notice that you get more energy in your body? Let's see what happens when you do it so slowly. Then what do you notice in your body? It helps to calm them. You can also do this with blowing flowers, as my girls call them, or daisies if they're out. And you can do it with bubbles. Bubbles are a really great visual because when we blow fast, they pop. When we blow nice and slow, which it helps to calm the nervous system, they grow bigger and bigger. So, great tool. When they're starting to notice the different sensations in their body, so when you're doing a bit of a body scan with them, so again, you can be laying down, noticing the connection between the body and the earth, integrate some breath. Ask them, what do you notice in your body? Do you notice softness or maybe tightness anywhere in your body? Does it feel like there's any colors in your body? So starting to get visual and creative. You can also guide them through a simple body scan. My mom used to do this for me when I was 6 and older. So noticing your feet first, noticing your legs, your hips and low back, moving to your mid back, upper back, shoulders, neck, back of the head, down your arms to your fingertips, and your breath. So just noticing all those points of the body can help them to connect further into their body. And then again, you can ask them, what do you notice in your body? Is there a color that shows up in your body? And so maybe they have a couple colors that they want to bring in or that they have to share with you. Interesting. What does that color mean to you? And so having a bit of a discussion, and this is very often where things from the day will start to come up, right? So you're helping them to process through somatic therapy really here, or somatic practices. Very, very, very powerful tool. So maybe there was frustration that came up in the day. This is number 4. We can use our breath to then move through it. So we're looking at ways of expressing the emotions that came up in number 4. So maybe it's growling like a bear, right? Using the animal archetypes can be really, really helpful in helping children to process, because then it's a little more play-based, but it's also, it's not centered on them, which can be hard for a lot of children. So it's connecting to a different animal. And I do have children's yoga / somatic cards to help do this as well. They do focus more on the positive emotions, but in the course that accompanies it, I speak quite a bit to parents and educators about working with the challenging emotions, because those are really the ones that are very important to honor. They're affirmation cards, so they're used to set up the day. So helping them to process that and release it. And then the fifth one is using more somatic body-based practices. So squeezing, right? Maybe squeezing feels good in their body. What other tactile sensations feel good for their body? Maybe it's a gentle touch. Maybe they like sort of the raindrops. And so just playing with that. A lot of neurodivergent children really do like the more of the pressure. So noticing and asking your child, what feels good for them. Things like tapping. So I'm tapping on my lap right now, alternating. This is a bilateral rhythm, which can also really help to calm the nervous system. I have a video also on timing and rhythm, which you might like to look at if this is of interest to you. So all of these practices can help to really organize the nervous system, calm the nervous system, so that we can get into our body and help integrate our experiences and be able to process them in a healthy way. And this is really what the key is in somatic work. How can we be proactive in our well-being? So tapping into that self-awareness and that self-expression, so we can be proactive and advocates for ourselves rather than waiting until things build up and we explode or implode, right? So if you have any questions on this, let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoy some of these tips. Let me know how it goes for you, and I will